8 on Tuesday, the 22nd of February 2022, and live on West Coast Radio 92.1 in the Gambia. This is Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. The private member bill seeking to amend the Constitution to provide for 14 more women seats in the National Assembly has failed to pass, despite a long-standing demand for substantial representation of women in the highest lawmaking body of the country. Women, who constitute more than half of the Gambia's population, have only 10% representation in Parliament, with 6 representatives out of 58 members of the National Assembly. Now, primarily sponsored by Banjul South Representative Honorable Fatoumata Njai, the bill twice failed in less than a week to make it to a third and final reading for lack of a quorum. Women's rights activists blame male chauvinism for the bill's stalling, although the chairman of the National Assembly Select Committee on Women's Affairs, Honorable Ousman Sillah, pointed to what he termed an issue with the bill. Well, here's Honorable Sillah with our Banna Sabally chatting shortly after the Assembly decided not to proceed with the effort to empower women.
Today, we were supposed to vote on the amendment of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, which was a members' bill brought by the National Assembly member for Banjul South, Honorable Tumanjai, which, among other things, is seeking for the provision of 14 more seats for women, 2 from each of the 7 constituencies, 7 regions rather, around the country. It was before the National Assembly on Thursday. We started a debate, because the National Assembly are in phases, in stages. When a bill is coming, it either comes in 3 forms. Either the executive brings it by the vice president or a minister, cabinet minister, or the National Assembly, committees, and then we have also, we call it members' bill, which is the one that was before us today, and then you have committees' bill. Of course, we have never had a committees' bill before the Assembly, but this is a members' bill that was before us. We did the first reading. Second reading was when the National Assembly members are given the opportunity to debate on it, but to discuss the merits and the principles, not the details. So there is also a stage when we've done that. But for it to pass, according to sections 226 of the Constitution, National Assembly can amend a part of the Constitution, that is those parts that are not entrenched. For the entrenched Constitution, it is only the population, the electorate, that can do that, that is the people, through a referendum. But National Assembly members can do so in any of these forms, any of these approaches. But it cannot succeed in the second and third stages for the amendment to take effect, or for it to take effect and then be given to the president to assent to it, unless 3/4 of the members of the National Assembly voted for it. Either we are in the second stage, we debated on it, and then it was, for it to pass to consideration stage, you should have 3/4 of the National Assembly members. As it stands, as of now, we have 58 members, and 3/4 of 58 would be 42. So for it to go to the next stage, and it says it shall. But we had a challenge today, and it was in fact last Thursday, when we could not vote for it to go to the next stage, because we were short of this threshold of 42. 35 came, and then it was extended. The speaker, according to the Constitution, we must dispense of it only if we have 3/4 of the membership. Today we were expecting that today we're going to meet that 42, for it to vote on it, that is to agree to it. But if you agree, that is the number. So today we were also unable to get the threshold of 42. So this is how the matter. There was a deadlock, because according to the Constitution, it says that it shall not go to another stage unless it is voted for. And then, but there is also provision for in our standing orders that if there is a deadlock, there is no explanation as to when this stage, what to do. But the standing orders also gave us a way out, that it is the Speaker who can decide. So the Speaker made a ruling that it cannot proceed, because, and then according to recency advances, that the National Assembly, this is the last session, and it has to adjourn sine die, and then we must dispense of it. It cannot continue, because we must agree on it. So that is how it died, unfortunately.
So it is because most parliamentarians were not in parliament. So how do you feel, because you are actually the chairman of a committee responsible for women?
Well, certainly, yes, I'm the chair of the Select Committee on Women. But as I said, this was not a committee this was not a bill that was committed to our committee. It was a private member's bill. Of course, it deals with women, in which I support as a member of the National Assembly, and I believe the members of my committee. So, as I said, it's very unfortunate. We would definitely want women representation. But the issue is also an issue with the bill, in the sense that the bill is asking for 14 more members of women. When in last year, our committee, the committee that I chair, presented to the National Assembly, and it was finally, approved by the National Assembly, supported by the National Assembly, and it is now law, Women's Amendment Bill, which is stating that 30% of positions, political, administrative, institutional, should be reserved for women. So the bill could have also come in this form, that rather than asking for this smaller number of 14, he could have asked for 30%. But anyway, this is how it came, that they wanted 2 from each of the constituencies to be elected. And then, of course, there is also some gray areas in terms of how to go about it. But if it has succeeded at this stage for us to go through it in a committee, at the committee stage, perhaps our ideas would have come in to further enrich the bill in terms of the modalities to apply for us to be able to elect 2 from each of the regions, the 7 regions.
But Honorable, was the committee not put in the picture when this bill was formulated?
No, we were not. What the mover of the bill decided to consult the entire National Assembly. So that was the approach she took. Our committee was consulted as a committee.
So would the bill have succeeded if you people were put into the picture?
Well, not necessarily. It could have been an approach, but not necessarily. At the end of the day, it's the National Assembly members. Because you can see, although we are in an election year, but I believe there were some moves made in terms of engaging them. But eventually we could not get 3/4. So it appears that if there was much interest in it, we would have been able to have the 3/4 and something more than, and the number that is more than 3/4, so that at least 42 should vote for it, vote in support of it, and then it passes. So I don't think it is the fact that it did not go to the committee that it failed. No. The interest is what is that is the issue.
Yeah, but would you agree with a whole lot of people that are saying it is actually the National Assembly members that don't show much interest into this bill? That is why it couldn't move forward, because most of the members were not in attendance.
Well, this is an indication. Of course, I think that's one of the explanations, that the reason why there is the numbers, the required number, and everybody knows that the number that is required for it to go to the next day, and then yet they absented themselves. So it is an indication. I'm not saying that anybody who was absent is not interested in it, but for me, I tried to attend in order to give it the required number, because I'm interested in it.
So what do you have for women that are very sad at this moment, because all that they have been fighting for is sort of thrown out of parliament?
No, my advice is that all hope is not lost. We're going to have a 6th legislature. I think what they should do now, let us go for a constitutional reform. Let us get a new constitution. Let us get a new constitution. I need a new constitution. In fact, if you look at this bill, parts of it are extracted from the rejected constitution. So we just need to elaborate on that constitution to ensure that there is, a representation in terms of writing. The interest was to ensure that there is this affirmative action, because women have been left out, so they wanted to catch up, at least to level the numbers. I think a new constitution can address that. So what we should do as a country, and the women advocates, women organizations, the incoming 6th legislature, and the president and his cabinet, is to really work towards a constitution that really addresses this, and so that women have at least a reasonable representation in the National Assembly. Of course, incrementally, we would want a National Assembly that is 50-50, but at this stage, you may not get that. But how do you ensure that at least there are some seats reserved? We ensure that this, and then let them also go and talk to the political parties. Now we are in the process of nomination. Let political parties to consider nominating or selecting women candidates who are going to be supported. And when it also comes to voting, the electorate also, the voters should also consider competent women. Let me emphasize competent women and competent men. We need competent women, competent men. It's not going to be symbolism. It shouldn't be tokenism. It shouldn't be symbolism. Just to be occupying space that there are women here who are not of substance. Equally as men in the National Assembly who are not of substance. So people have to be very vigilant and interested in getting people of substance. National Assembly members who are not looking for jobs, who are competent, who are dedicated, who are committed to serving the national interest, including the interests of women, including the interests of men, Gambians in general. So that is tough for us. I don't think there is anything for them to be remorseful about, to be sad about. As I said, all hope is not lost. This is just a lesson that let us learn our lesson that next time we have to ensure that we do the necessary mobilization and then take the conscience of those that matter. That definitely the women need to be factored in our development, in decision making, particularly.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
You're welcome.
That was Honorable Ousman Sillah.